All right, good morning. Looks like we finally got into the new studio area to make videos, so I'm excited to be able to present in this manner. You will notice I still look a little bit upwards. I'm still getting used to the new setup and hopefully get all the kinks worked out here. So, anyways, let me do a few introductions. My name is Jay. I am the owner of Section8Consulting.com. I work with around 1,000 clients a year. We work with multiple law firms. We're partnered with at least one, and we help people navigate the system. As many of you know, there are always problems out there when it comes to housing and vouchers and getting this stuff as quickly as you need. And so, as a matter of assistance for most people that cannot get questions answered through HUD or through the Housing Authority or 211 or 311, I use my extensive expertise to work clients, social workers, and other organizations through the system to assist them with housing or getting their own clients housing. So that means we work with social workers and so on. But today, it's not about all that good stuff. You know, one imaginative thing that I ran into early in my career is dealing with housing authorities, besides the personalities and the lack thereof of education and formality and reading policies and procedures. Many housing authorities seem to operate like the Wild West. And because of that, it's created in many ways, and you'll see I'm trying to adjust this mic here. I should have done that pre-video. It creates a situation where we have a pretense for fraud, scams, insolvency, and other money-related issues when the human element affects whether or not a person's able to get a voucher. Now, I see a few comments. I'll try to check on those occasionally. And so I give a quick shout out to Lisa Behringer. Can you help with guardianship for my dad to be on a voucher? And does that income count against me? Well, I would say to you in that case, you probably want to reach out to my office because if I would need to ask more questions for sure. And there would be a rather long answer to that. So you'll see some booking links up there. It's not a cheap attempt to get you to spend money. It's just that you're asking a question that would obviously require a much longer answer. So let's talk about the Killeen Housing Authority. This is what the video is about. And we're going to talk about what's happened with them. And I've reported on many situations here when it comes to this. So there has been a massive fraud exposed, and it's the Killeen Housing Authority for Section 8 Voucher Housing Program. It's been run like a scam. And as we roll through this information, you'll start to see how it unfolds. So right now, they're on federal investigation. There's a massive exodus of staff members and severe financial issues. Now, when they say severe, I think that we can redefine it as being even more serious than that. The Killeen Housing Authority has been phone. I tell you what, when it's been 3 weeks. And what I'm going to do is just cut off the ringer here. So it's been about 3 weeks since I made a video, so I apologize for all these little things that should know better. So anyways, the massive fraud exposed with the Killeen Housing Authority. They're under a massive federal investigation. Most of the staff has exited at this point and will not be back because I think at this point they realize most of them are going to be under indictment. There are severe financial issues, as mentioned, and I think that they have an operational budget right now left in their checking account of $85. Now, the egregious nature of this is going to become a little bit more extreme as I talk a little further. So the KHA Board of Commissioners voted unanimously last week to transfer its Section 8 housing programs over to Central Texas Council of Government for housing programs. And as of now, KHA owns and maintains 154 public housing rental units. In other words, project-based trash. And so they've made quite the career of buying up properties. And now the scam has run itself out. And they have now a total of 85 crispy dollars left with 1,800 fucking people facing homelessness due to what's happened. And let's get further into this. So they first became aware in 2020. Now imagine that. And so the KHA went heard, and literally had been a raid on the Housing Authority office. So the feds actually kicked down the door in 2022. And they confirmed that with the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development's investigative arm. The Office Inspector General led the raid. And the KHA's directors and its home were kicked in the doors as well. They were seized. And alongside the Killeen Police, the FBI, Department of Justice, the OIG, and all these allegations that we have fair housing out there. So there was approximately 20 to 30 law enforcement officers at that person's door at 7:15 a.m. They're banging on the door to enter, and so they came on the premises with guns, shields up, floodlights shining on those, and yelling, of course, obscenities to everybody in the building. Now, I had a recent experience with a client saying, "Oh, well, I've mentioned your company, Jay," and they said that might be a scam. I'd ask you to revisit that concept, and then let's discuss the hundreds of housing authorities that are on multiple point indictments for committing fraud, half of which already are sitting in a federal prison. And then we have a caseworker, a person that would be an equal equivalent to a prostitute on 3rd Street, giving a recommended advice that potentially the services I offer are a scam compared to the multi-million-dollar fraud that these people carried out in the face of robbing thousands of people of a home. And so the reality is pretty stark, isn't it? Because housing authorities are privately owned. They are not HUD. They are not the feds. They're not employed by feds. And I don't trust a fucking housing authority further than I can throw them. In fact, our office has been quite involved in suing their ass, as many as possible. And I'm not the only. There are hundreds of indictments and lawsuits against housing authorities around the nation where we have prejudicial behavior, racist behavior. We've got behaviors where we're making poor decisions. We have housing authorities that are now insolvent. I've made many, many videos about this, but yet we put our trust and care and consideration as to getting a voucher through these housing authorities. And so you see, I don't just back my shit and my company with my good word. I back it with lawyers and law firms. That's the difference. I don't request anything from a housing authority. I will compel you. You will cooperate, or your ass will go to prison. I don't play. In my early career, I traded what I call pleasantries. That means that I would try to attempt to get what my clients needed by working with a housing authority. These days, we dispense of those pleasantries. You violate my clients' rights. You don't grant what's permissible under law, or you make a decision that doesn't fall in line with federal statute. I'll either sue your ass, or I will take to the wind with you, and we'll end you. Most housing authorities, even if they're having prayer circles, and everybody in the building is doing a fabulous job, right? I could give a damn, because I can be assured of one thing. Most housing authorities and the lunatics they hire to work there, they call them caseworkers. Now imagine this. You drive through McDonald's, you get you $1 cheeseburger, and the same little girl that gave that cheeseburger out the window is the same woman that's now working your case. She's now the director of services for the little housing authority. And all these little rodeo clowns that work at these housing authorities are inconsequential in the world that I work in. And so what's angering me, what's upsetting me, what incites me at this point is we're thus talking about, again, another housing authority taking advantage of not 100 people, not 1,000, but almost 2,000 people. We're running the fraud all the way to the end. In other words, we're literally sitting there with a chisel and we're carving out the last ounce of silver out of that place. We're taking the last fucking dollar, and then we're walking away, leaving it insolvent with $85 in his checking account. That's what the housing authority is, in my opinion. This is what we face. We're worried about vouchers. We can't even get these fuckers to actually operate legally. And if they do, there's nothing left. Story after story and video after video. I thought my job was really about helping people navigate a system, but really it's just trying to figure out who the fuck is honest anymore. 2-year investigation, up to 40 people with badges out there, and nobody knows what the fuck is going on. This is your housing authority. This is what goes on. These aren't people that just simply need a little bit of extra cash to get through the week. These are people that are disabled in a wheelchair, and they can't fucking get help to save their life. And the bigger part of the story with these housing authorities are you have people in there making prejudicial decisions as to whether or not they deserve it, like they're fucking God. And then you wonder what my position in all this is and whether or not what I do is a scam. Let me tell you, I think it's very, very clear what's going on. The thing is, you can't sue something that's insolvent, right? So, of course, when they say there was a mass exodus, well, what does a con artist do when it walks out the fucking building? He doesn't hang around and wait to see if he's going to get charged. So, yeah, of course, the building's empty. The only people left in that building are the few that weren't actually complicit in this. And that's the story. That's the story. It really is. I could read further into this, but to be honest with you, I'm so pissed off to sit here and read about another 1,800 people have to hit the street because we actually dipped into checking accounts to burn it, go out there and have champagne, go buy a box of cigars and do whatever the fuck you want instead of actually helping people that now have no home. Now, this organization running the Kileen is controlling up to 34 different towns. These people don't even know they're homeless yet. So when we question integrity and whether or not somebody can do a job, I think I have an established record. But what I'm also establishing is don't put your trust in the fucking care of any housing authority ever for any reason. Because you might just find you, your pets, and your animals and grandma go out with the bath water. That's the stark reality of dealing. This is why people hire my company, because they want me to throw them under the fucking bus. They want me to leave the same people that took advantage of them. They want me to go after them and leave their ass penniless. They're the ones in the ditch walking with one flip-flop, not them. I get more revenge hires to sue these people, to make them cooperate and compel for what should already happen. So anyways, guys, beyond that being said, here we are next to Christmas, trying to work through client cases. And I want to mention that we brought on that additional law firm now, and we're working with other parties as well to try to get through the good season. And the good season, in my opinion, would be October, November, December, January, February, March, August, June, July. It's terrible. So during the cool season, as we move into winter, as we move into Christmas and the holiday season, we see a marketable drop in the number of people that need housing or want to go through application. I think it's actually a natural process. As things get colder, there's less activity, and there's less people needing and seeking vouchers. It means that people take less risk when things get cold and the weather is adverse, right? And so now, for most of you that are considering housing and vouchers and subsidies, Section 811, Section 202, whether you're looking at entering a HOPA program for HIV or AIDS, you're looking at VAWA for those that have experienced domestic violence, and I can go on for about 138 different types of funding and vouchers out there. This would be the most appropriate time. We'll reach a new federal budget by January, right? So many of you that have said it's impossible, people come all, oh, well, the housing authority told me it'll be 55 years before I get a voucher. And you believe them like a fool. It wasn't 55 years when Nancy ran the housing authority and she decided to give the lady that scrubs the toilet in her house a voucher for Christmas. It wasn't 55 years when Bob is out there mowing the grass in front of her house and she decided to gift the voucher for no fucking reason. So I don't need anybody to come to my office and tell me about what the housing authority says. I don't care what those people say. Just like portability. Well, they said it'd be 12 months. Well, that's what a delusional clown always says because it's been trained like a monkey to tell you that, and you suck it up. There are 11 federal reasons in which you can port, and it does not require 12 months. And that's much of what I'd have to do in my job is to dispel rumors and ignorance on the part of people that are already committed fraud and violating everybody's rights. But you guys suck it up like it's a cocktail. You get drunk on bullshit. You see? I just had to spend half my morning convincing a literal law firm this morning that the realities of what the housing authority was telling their law firm was an absolute lie. I got to go out in another 2 weeks and go and fly down to a southern state to convince a jury that the story, the bullshit, the fairy tale that the housing authority and its employees, its incompetent little monkeys, are telling the court and the jurors is bullshit. And why is it bullshit? Because unlike them, I don't need to invent stories as I go. I can actually verbatim the federal law that backs it. I don't sit there and make up fairy tales. You guys put too much care and wisdom into fools. These same fools make less than the little girl at the cheeseburger shop, but yet you sit on the edge of the bar. You're almost about to fall off a cliff that you take that shit so seriously. I haven't any respect for housing authorities or anything that works in there. And now, don't get me wrong, there are housing authorities that are professionally operable that haven't violated anybody's right, but they're so rare, they're like a unicorn, aren't they? So we read hundreds of instances where HUD, the federal agency, has gone after, sued and taken over housing, hundreds of cases. But we believe every word. Their policy says that it's 900 years for the voucher. She said that I can't. She smacked my hand like a little 2-year-old girl and said no, and you believed it. This is the bullshit that I contend with. And I understand why, because most of you only can believe what you've been told. But that's not reality. And that's not the contention of how federal rules work. And as far as I'm concerned, they'll either comply, get sued, become insolvent, or be thrown in prison. I really honestly don't care. Why just, my point is dispense with pleasantries. You'll either give the client what they need, or you'll find out what's going to happen to you. And when HUD and OIG get involved, you're done. You're going to get what we call Section 9. Yesterday, you were issuing Section 8 vouchers. Now you, the person working at the housing authority, you will now become the recipient of a Section 9 voucher, where we stick your ass in an 8x8, 3 hots and a cot, and you'll do 75% of your time in the prison. You get your own lease, no keys. So, yeah, I do get fed up. 20 plus years doing this. I've got to battle the wicked little lies that people believe. I've got to deal with incompetent people that steal, rob, cheat, and lie that work at the housing authority, at least the ones that are unethical in practice. And I have to unrig a game, because this really is a game, right? Look, when the housing authority goes, hey, we're running a lottery, does not a lottery, the simple word of a lottery, does it not imply that we're somehow playing a game? When you go play the lottery at the gas station, is it not a game? So if we're going to play a game, then we thus have to play to win. Because unless you're a fool or a sucker, then why the fuck would you play a game with the intent to lose? Why would you put the care and the roof over your head in the care of somebody that had the emotional and educational level of a child? And that's a lot of what I'm seeing out of housing authorities. You call them, you're talking to somebody supposed to be a supervisor. You verbatim federal law, and they honestly look like they have been shocked, like a deer in the middle of the night when the headlights hit them in the eyes. They don't even know what the hell you're talking about, because they've never even shook the dust off their own manuals. They ain't read any policies, procedures. They're all it's like you're drinking from Jim Jones Kool-Aid. It's ridiculous. And we look at other federal agencies, right? There's only one other one that does a worse job, and that'd be the U.S. Postal System. But we have a military that runs operably fine, well-funded. We can pop bombs all day, right? We can fight any nation. But we've given Marissa Fudge, the director of HUD, a small budget. But I can tell you one thing, the director at HUD does its job when it can. I have a great deal of respect for HUD, but I don't have any respect for, and I want to make this clear, housing authorities are not HUD, and HUD is not the housing authority. HUD does not give out voucher. HUD is a federal agency that is supposed to, in principle, defend the interest of those that utilize federal programs, vouchers, and funding. And if there's something that's happened, defend the honor of that person through virtue of federal rules. So HUD is not your local housing authority. And who I'm talking about with the limited number of profanities is the local housing authority, which are often privately owned, which means they are for profit, but they're still answerable to the public. But the amusement of a housing authority is simply this. If they're only allowed to keep 6 to 7% as an operable budget to run that little shithole, and I know how much that budget is, and I also know how much your legal budget is. Now, do you understand how you could throw a housing authority under the bus? It's a matter of which company. Does my company have more than that housing authority when it comes to money and attorneys? And can I throw their ass under the bus? 60% of the time, I can. And I've got enough, after a long career, I've got enough contacts around the U.S. and through lawyers, whether ESQ and independent or through firms, I have enough power to wield where I can assure you I'll get what I want, or I'll make it so hellish. But the point would be not so much revenge, because I've literally had people contact my office just simply, hey, I know I'm not going to get a voucher, but after I was treated like a $2 trick on 3rd Street, I want to see the building go up in smoke. And that woman that's prejudicial and racist and everything else in there, I'd like very much for you to bring that to the attention to HUD. Oh, we do that. Oh, we most certainly do. Media packets are very fun too, because you can actually take and expose everything. And this isn't the first time. Let me tell you a little story I once heard about Bob that owned a grocery store, and he had finally caught Sally stealing out the register. When asked Sally, is this was the first time that anybody believed it was the first time, it wasn't. This, in fact, it was just the first time they were caught. The same principle relies in this housing authority. This isn't the first time. And anytime they got to open their books, because once they've been caught with the hand in the cookie jar, I can assure you it's not their first time. It's just been the first time they've been caught. And so they have to question themselves. Would it be worth going to court and opening their books to show everything that they're without sin, that they have not violated anybody's rights, or can they defend their position adequately? And can they sell that bullshit down the river to an actual jury of their own peers? Will the average American believe their bullshit in a courtroom? Of course not. At least for those that can explain exactly what's going on. So the goal here is not to throw every housing authority under the bus in America. I think, again, that many are operable. I think many have highly educated people, but a big slice of this pie is run by corruption, and prejudicial behavior. Okay? And when we have to deal, when you deal in the dark side, you got to learn you can only fight fire with fire. My interest is to represent that of those that are already been a victim, that have gone to the housing authority and been further victimized, and to help these people get what they need. Not sell fantasies and unicorns and impossible statistics about how I'm so flawless in the nature of work that I do. Of course, myself and my company makes mistakes. But it's nowhere to the depraved level in which I see playing out through many housing authorities that have operated with virtually no federal oversight and do whatever they want. And they run the coffers and the checking account down to $80, in this case, $85. But yet we give them so much latitude. Well, they lie right in your face. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But a quick Google search would reveal that almost virtually everything I've said in this video is a reality. It's not a question of will it happen. It's only a question of how many times. So if you've got a problem out there, guys, you want a problem, then you want somebody to solve problems, I'm real good at that. You want somebody that's going to take a non-bullshit approach to it, that's definitely me. I'm not here to trade pleasantries with housing authorities, and my opinion is strictly this. They will comply with the policies, or I will throw them under the federal bus. If they can't do that, then I'll arm myself with enough attorneys around whatever state I need to, and then we'll let it be handled that way. And in the end, let's see who bankrupts first. Let's see, in a court of law, who's got the bigger legal budget. So I'm prepared to play the game. Now, does the housing authority's little teeny weeny 6% budget got the time? Well, we'll find out. We'll see how that goes. Many don't. Well, guys, you know what we're going to do tomorrow, while I'm still in a great fiery mood and we're going to ring in this lovely holiday season, we're going to do a Q&A. And that's to help you guys answer all your questions. And I'm also now going to turn the video over to all those questions you guys just asked. And I'm sure there's a few people that popped in there to probably say bad things about me too. But I always I like spicy people in my videos, talk a little shit. I'm okay with that. I'm from South Louisiana. I can be both professional and I can be a good slice of trailer trash, whatever it takes. You can't take the South out of a man. So let's take a look at the comments real quick. All right. So thank you, Miss Behringer. Sweet thing 241. Can I get on a waiting list in another state without living there? You can get on every waiting list in America. You can actually get as many vouchers as you want, but what you cannot do under federal rules is use all those vouchers. You must only choose one. Shirley Bryant, thanks for sharing the post. Shirley Bryant goes on to say, excellent. C. Blanton, indeed, and agrees. C. Blanton, we got enough of that. Drink the Kool-Aid. Let me tell you something. You people in my office, we're not drinking Jim Jones Kool-Aid. What we're doing is we're going to bring that down the house because we're going to let them have a hit of their own shit. Let them have a hit of their own poisoning. That's the thing, None of this should be even necessary. I shouldn't even exist. People should simply be able to get what they need. Why do we need to light the housing authority on fire, throw them under the federal bus, and then have to reverse engineer their policies, procedures, data manuals, and everything? Is because we have a bunch of children and people just operating and doing whatever the hell they want. And they've done it so long that they find that it's okay to take a victim and further victimize them. Oh, well, we're issuing you the voucher. You're living in our building. And if you complain about any little thing, we'll take your voucher. What is that called? It's called blackmail, right? So we've lowered to the depraved levels of hell where we can actually take a victim, give them a voucher, and then further fucking victimize them. Welcome to America. But there's an answer to that because not every devil's going to walk. You're only going to fool the foolish, and I'm not foolish. All right, so C. Blanton, we got enough of that. Drinking the Kool-Aid. Alpine Glitch, you rock. I appreciate you, my friend. Donna Harris, I'd gone back and forth with trying to turn in my information early, and yet they kept coming back and needing more. That's one of the antiquated tactics, is to give you busy work. Because eventually, if you keep a person busy, if the housing authority employee keeps a person busy enough with bullshit, then what'll end up really happening is you'll reach that conclusion in your mind, the EPIT policy. I've had enough, and then you'll simply quit. That's usually the goal. It's kind of like a psychological warfare, right? We'll just keep the red tape, as much tape as we can around the building to keep people from getting anything. That way, Sally and Bob, while they're stealing all the money in the housing authority, they don't actually have to earn a fucking paycheck because they'll simply steal the paycheck machine. That's what they do, right? They can't get enough. They're only being paid, $6 an hour, $3 an hour to work there, right? They just picked them up on Craigslist from the cheeseburger shop. Now they're the master consultant housing authority woman, and she believes she deserves better than the minimum wage, but she can barely get through spelling. She can't answer a telephone. And because of 5-year-old COVID rules, the reason they really, really don't want you in the building is not because you're going to breathe your nasty COVID on them. They can't really face the people they victimize. It's simple as that. Lizzie, if you ask for all your paperwork and what program you're on, you're evicted the next day. That doesn't surprise me. I've seen all kinds of awful tactics put up by these folks. Lizzie, 100%. Louisiana here, Lizzie says. All right, another native. It's good to know you good Cajuns and Creoles. Sabrina Davis, I have a family member in Orange County, said when it opens, if he's not choosing, he has to reapply. Is that right? That's a load of horse shit. You don't have to reapply. Look, if you're not chosen, then you go right back on the waiting list, okay? That waiting list is eternal, okay? Unless they're planning on running a new waiting list, there's no reason for them to reapply. If you weren't chosen if they didn't like you the first time, they're not going to like you the second time. You'd be better off just trying to get a voucher from a different county and state and then porting it back there, because usually whatever decisions they're making at that time is probably going to be the same 8 years from now. Look, guys, every housing, if I operated my businesses, I'm going to take your money, okay? Let's just pretend I'm the housing authority and I've got money, and right now my money needs to be spent on fresh leather couches, office parties, and not doing much of anything. Maybe just moving around, mouse around and playing Farmville. And you call and you irritate me. Okay. I just got my kindergarten certificate out the bubblegum machine. I'm now graduated to being a big girl, and I'm now working at the housing authority. And I don't want to be bothered. So everybody that calls today, I'm just simply going to lie flat in their fucking face and say, well, you can go ahead and apply at www, but just keep in mind there's a 200-year waiting list. You see, all this is just a game. I bet a housing authority, I didn't even represent who I was, called them, and they straight up lied. But see, they're complicit in that concept to confuse people and tell you things like that, because the implication there is if you tell somebody the waiting list is 15 years, then most people are going to go away quietly and just accept the answer because they see the housing authority as an authority. They are not, they should really just be called the housing shack, not an authority. They carry zero authority. They are not the feds. They are no way connected to HUD. They're simply administering federal funds, which is supposed to be fairly, right? But see, when they don't want to play fairly, then you have to sue them. You guys have got all this so wrong. I've tried to say it the nice way. I've tried to say it the religious way. I've tried to say it the Republican and Democratic way. At this point, the only way I can convey the message is unless they can identify in their policies and procedures the things that come out of their mouth, then it's not reality. There's no factual basis for half the things that I hear coming out of housing authorities and its employees. And again, I'm not suggesting that all wickedness is for every housing authority, but the sheer number of cases at 3,700 housing authorities, and I'm counting roughly 16% of them committing fraud. And I'm not making the accusation. I'm watching what HUD's doing. I'm watching what the Department of Justice is doing. This is their reporting, not mine. That means we have a serious problem. But the fact that we're able to accept the job, we're supposed to care, right? At least do our job. Maybe not even care. Just be a psychopath, but do your job, right? But yet we don't feel appreciated enough. We don't feel fuzzy enough at that housing authority. So then we start reallocating money and just stealing it. But we're not just stealing from anybody. We're actually committing enhanced crimes because we're stealing from those that are disabled and seniors. So now they're advanced crimes. So we have no moral center, no ethical center. And then we're picking and choosing people like little kindergartners based on color and different things, right? And we can't justify our reasons as to why certain people are getting vouchers or not. Well, if you haven't figured out, if you don't work at the director's house and you're not scrubbing her toilet, you don't get a free pass. If you're not out there like a dog mowing the grass, then you don't get a Christmas party voucher. You don't have enough political constraints or political constituents to get you a voucher on your own steam. And a lot of this nonsense that goes on in the smaller housing authorities, that needs to, the brakes need to be put on. These people need to be charged with federal crimes. They need to have their ass dragged out of their homes at 3 a.m. They need to have their building dissolved, their accounts levied, and the U.S. Marshals carry their ass off. That's how I feel about it. Hey, looks like one of my cats popped in. I was going to show you a little mama, but she's a very busy bee this morning. She's indicating that she's going during her lunch break. And so I have to get some cat food ready pretty soon. All right, so let me give you a few more comments rather than this pure tirade I've been on. Oh, here she comes. Let's see. Mama, you want to come visit the audience? All right, girl. Oh, there she is. So little mama says good morning. Talk to the audience. She said she'd like a little lunch. I'll say hello to little mama. She's a good girl. She was one of my rescues, one of my 22 rescues. All right, she's out of here. She's going to go on her break. All right, Alpine Glitch goes on. I reported the landlord for erroneous charges like water that is not on the lease. Was told they will abate me. Oh, okay, so they're going to try to throw the book at you. You know, anytime you deal with a crook and they always want to somehow swoop in and say they're going to sue you or violate you, you got to love that. A good con artist A good con artist is going to both convince you that somehow your complaint, the complaint that you levied against them, is committing fraud. That's how they always, a delusional con artist always acts that way. Any complaint lodged is going to be fraud, and then of course they're going to take their own actions when they know their ass wouldn't even show up for court, and they certainly are going to open their big mouth in front of a judge and have an administrative judgment filed against their ass. I would tell you, you reach out to my office, people like that, they're easy to throw under the bus. Network 126, I applied for Section 8 in a different state. Now they want me to show up in person. It's too far. What should I do? Well, you should, according to the 2008 Disability Act, all persons with a disability are allowed to request an accommodation. An accommodation is where you may have a touch of COVID and you simply can't show up in their office. And respectively, they would have to grant that. Maybe you don't have legs and you can't walk. Maybe it creates a financial burden on you where you can't go there. And so you would just simply write an accommodation letter and see whether or not they would accept or deny it. Lizzie goes on to say, Aussie Blanton gives me a heart. Sabrina Davis gives me a couple of hearts and a smiley. I appreciate you guys. Well, look, guys, it's been fun. Anytime I can exercise my wide vocabulary, professionalism, and profanities, I'm always excited for the day. So we're going to do the Q&A tomorrow, and it will be devoid of profanities, of course. And hopefully the next housing authority to fall, number 487 from fraud, won't be anytime soon because I get tired of making these videos. Actually, I don't. I quite enjoy them. It is a wicked pleasure talking smack about the housing authority. But for so many of them to participate in my game means they get to be the victim, right? Because I'm not the victim. When I can sit here and throw it out to 30, 40,000 people and make victimize their ass, now that's the day you want to remember, right? All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I've enjoyed talking with y'all. You can love it or hate it. If you don't like it, then tough shit, don't come back. Nobody's making you be here. You can always go down to Bob and Nancy's Fidget Spinner channel. One day they're a master expert consulting. The next day they'll teach you how to bake cakes. I'm sure if you like delusional advice, then go get it. There are lots of rodeo clowns making videos, but none of them are consultants like myself. So I'm pretty sure they copy pretty much everything I do anyways. I got one guy's prolific on TikTok. He copies every video I make. Look, there's a difference between being a real consultant and being a mannequin. And for him, it's almost like being a ventriloquist. He doesn't actually have an original thought in his life. But hey, go ahead and run your channel, brother. All right, guys, y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.